It's a bull. Hey, what's up? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in rainy and stormy Lauderdale by the Sea. Actually, it hasn't rained yet, but sure looks like it's going to. And look at those storm clouds off in the distance, man. We had some big waves this week, too. Didn't get a chance to go out and surf, but big waves. Well, let's kind of move into what we're going to talk about today, which is obviously gold and silver again. And we seem to talk about that an awful lot, don't we? So here's what I do want to point out. Has anyone else been waking up like in a really crappy mood, bad mood? I sure as a hell have been lately. I don't know what it is. I just think it's the overall vibe out there, or maybe something they're putting in the water. But man, the discontent, even in me, and I'm a fairly calm guy, it just seems to be rising and rising and rising. All right. Oh boy, I'd like to wake up in a really happy world where, you know, there's no fighting and there's no cheating in markets and people actually work fairly with each other and our government doesn't lie to us. Oh my gosh, here I go again. All right, let's look at silver and gold prices first. Monkey hammering, overnight markets, of course, where CME Group, you know, who runs the COMEX and Globex casino, and actually who caters to, well, all right, I'll go there in a little bit as well. First, let's talk about prices here. 1951.66, the overnight low. Look at that. That's a pretty big range for gold. A high in 1990.23, currently sitting at 1955.94. Silver, I'm going to go right down the line here, 24.98, touch just a tad below that $25 mark, only to be sitting at 25.23, and again, that's a 25.94 range. And there's good news in all this too, folks, I want to talk about as well. So silver moving in that 50-cent dollar range, which is, you know, it does that, and that's not untypical when silver is, you know, I look at silver again as a hyperactive greyhound on a leash, looking at that rabbit running down the road, and this greyhound is just jumping up and down, up and down, up and down, waiting to get off that leash where it's just going to go. And I think that's what we're going to see with silver and probably gold at some point. But silver, I think, is the most manipulated of all the metals out there, the most manipulated in the COMEX CME. Again, my experience is going to be primarily gold and silver. So, I mean, maybe this happens in the grain markets with the COMEX. Maybe this also happens with, you know, maybe they get their big monkey hammer manipulative commercial banks that screw with those markets as well. I can't tell you, but I do tell you, I can tell you, in my opinion and in the opinion of people way smarter than me, the COMEX group is crooked, and their CME price discovery for silver is crooked. And you can take a look at today's prices and tell that as well. Look at across the board. Look at that. Palladium, $386 down. Oh my gosh, that's just fucking insane. But palladium was a market I never understood well, always made huge moves on its own occasionally, highly manipulated market, controlled by Russians and South Africans and Canadians, okay? So it's a little cartel, trading cartel, but palladium went up dramatically, probably on sanctions, and then just dropped back here. However, I do feel a lot of this, not a lot of this, as far as silver goes, this is a total bullshit price. Total, this is complete effing nonsense. And there's no point in getting mad about it because the CME group is not going to do anything about it, because if they did, they'd have to admit that they've run a crooked market for the last 4 decades or more. And they're not going to do that either. They're not going to admit to it. Now, maybe they'll try to wind down those big commercial bank short positions, but they're never going to admit that they allow these commercial banks to manipulate the silver price like this for so fraudulently, in my opinion. So let's take a look at, and again, if you listen to my videos for the last 2 years, this has been a common theme. You know, I'm so sick of it, to be honest with you, too. I'm so sick of talking about these crooks. I'm so sick of it. However, what it has done, it has allowed us to store away a good portion of real commodities. I mean, real physical gold and silver. That's what our videos are about here. Real gold and silver, not the bullshit paper markets, not the bullshit COMEX price discovery that creates ridiculous numbers like this. Gives us the opportunity to buy. However, what can you buy right now? Folks, there is a shortage of one. I said shortage last week because I got a good ear on the railroad track here. I can hear the trains are coming from many miles away, and I knew that we were going to look at some shortages in 1 ounce, 10 ounce kilos, and now it appears to be moving into the 100-ounce bar market as well. Folks, retailable silver, the sovereign stuff has not been available for a while. Premiums are just crazy on Eagles and all that stuff when you can find them. And the best deal for the last couple years, at least, has been, what I'm talking, generic 1 ounce, 10 ounce, and 100-ounce bars. Cheapest buys out there in kilos of recent. So, but that stuff just dried up. Where is it? And I understand that, that this stuff comes from 1,000-ounce bars, and these 1,000-ounce bars are turned into smaller products, again, 1s, 10s, and 100s. But obviously, it ain't happening, And what other market in the entire world, where you have a huge amount of demand for a metal like silver, huge amount of demand for a metal like silver? And I guess you can say the same thing about gold. But I'm going to stick with silver right now because we know that market is manipulated. And, okay. So what other market in the world do you have a huge demand? The product runs out. The retailable product just runs out completely. The premiums go up dramatically, yet the price drops, all right? I tell you, folks, that happens in no other market than a crooked fucking market like COMEX, CME Group runs in COMEX. And again, it's not even opinion anymore. We say it's an opinion all the time, but it's pretty much facts. They've had two or three decades to respond to these allegations of fraudulent manipulative activity in their COMEX market, and they haven't done it. They made a fortune doing this. And if you think the regulators are going to do it, let me tell you, the CFTC is as incompetent as they can get, either implicit or incompetent. And again, there's one commissioner even on the CFTC board. And if you look who governs the CFTC board, it's the Agriculture, Board of Agriculture, which is a bunch of, I'm not sure if it's congressmen or senators that sit on it, but a bunch of blue and red congressmen or senators that sit on the agricultural board that oversee the CFTC, which is supposed to oversee the COMEX group. Folks, it ain't happening. If anyone honestly believes that the CME group and the COMEX is being regulated and even looked at by the regulation agencies, they deceive it themselves. The CFTC is doing nothing, nada, zip, about this issue and probably about any other issues. They're just letting these people run roughshod over whatever the fuck they want to do. Again, don't mean to go off, but man, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed with these people today. Let's take a look at when this monkey hammering manipulative bullshit behaviors occurred, and take a look at this. There is today, there is in the green, we've gone down from 1980 to the current 1955 range. There's last night's opening, again, bang down from that 1990 range, currently sitting, currently sitting at around 1952 is the last right here. So take a look at that, folks. Happens in the overnight Globex markets, probably London too, the LMBA markets, LBMA market, and the New York markets. These are all, we know New York's crooked. We also know the LBMA is crooked as well. And this market, New York Globex, is actually owned by COMEX. So that COMEX owns the 24-hour market, and they own the New York NYMEX markets, which open at 8:30 and close at, 1:20 or something like that. So here you go. Here's your monkey hammering done by your big commercial short positions out there. And as far as gold goes, I don't think gold is manipulated as much on the COMEX markets. The gold market is not, I think the gold market is manipulated on a larger scale, often by governments, I believe, and I think that gata.org does have that right. If you're new to my videos, we'll get over to gata.org in a bit. Let's take a look at this 24-hour silver charts here. Same thing, there you go. Last night's market, Sundays, boom, as soon as they open, more or less, bang, slam, and slam dunk down here. And let me mention again, the most crooked market out there, in my opinion, is the silver market on COMEX and Globex markets. But let me point out something else too, is, again, how is there such a major shortage in retailable products in silver, big giant demand, yet the price drops, all right? You know why this price is dropping? It's because the big commercial shorts are trying to save their asses, and COMEX allows them to do it. They spoof, whatever needs to be done. They spoof these markets. I don't even know if they're spoofing anymore, but JP Morgan got caught for spoofing. And they're still in this market somehow, even though they're not doing, they're not in the COMEX markets like they used to be, but they're still, folks, I can't even tell you how stinking rotten these organizations are. Let me move into something else here, because again, you know, I could just go off on this for the rest of the day. Let's take a look at what's happening in the equity markets. Not much. I believe that it's dying death of 1,000 cuts. You're going to see some up days, but the overall trend, let's see what the trend is actually. I haven't looked in a little while. Let's look at that 1-year trend, 6-month trend, and looks like that was pretty much the peak of it right there. What day was that? That was January 4th, all right? So the decline of this market is basically started on January 4th, and I have a feeling, you see those little sawtooths right there? It was up and down and up and down. I think we're going to see that for quite a while on a slow basis. Again, death by 1,000 cuts. Oddly enough, guess what the hell, you know, the thing that was supposed to replace gold, here you go, is nothing like gold, not even acting like gold, and even remotely. Bitcoin prices, if you overlay this chart, are almost freaking, you could almost lay them over the this chart right here. It's following the equities markets. And why is that? Well, because Bitcoin is no longer the wild, wild west it once was. It is now institutionalized and probably manipulated by the large commercial banks, the large commercial players out there. So I think Bitcoin is even more so, because the regulation is not there as much. But you know, even if there was regulation, well, if they were regulated by the CFTC, then you can pretty much assure that those bastards get away with doing whatever they want. But no less, Bitcoin is just kind of following the equities markets. It didn't turn out to be anything like gold whatsoever. But as I said, you know, governments and bankers hate competition. They were not going to allow Bitcoin to rival them in any way whatsoever. With that said, you know, I've been a big advocate of DuckDuckGo for 2 years now, man. You know what, I actually on DuckDuckGo been telling people, hey, use DuckDuckGo because they don't, you know, they don't send you advertising, they don't spy on you like that. But guess what DuckDuckGo did? They will now demote Russian propaganda in their search engines. Will be downrank sites that spread Russian propaganda. And what is Russian propaganda today and disinformation, folks? It's whatever your government doesn't want you to hear. And I want to show you a perfect example of this. Anybody remember this guy, Roger? Can't call him Roger Moore. Roger Stone. Not Roger Stone. What's his name? Oh crap. Let's see if I can find it up there. All right. Mr. Stone, let's just say Mr. Stone. God, it sucks when you get old. Oliver Stone, sorry, who did the series, you know, the TV movie, not TV movie, but did the movie documentary about JFK. Was it a conspiracy or not? Oliver Stone did this one on Ukraine on fire, I guess, just recently, and they took it off of they took it off of YouTube. They took it off of what else? They took it off of Twitter. They took it off of Facebook. This is Oliver Stone, man. This is the dude that made documentaries for years and years and years, and some of them controversial, but for the most part, very true. Anyways, if you haven't seen this particular movie right here, and it's on Rumble, my understanding, because it's taken down off of every platform. And for what it's worth, I'm going to start backing up and doing all my videos on Rumble as well, in case one day you guys find that I've been deplatformed, which I hope not. I find it hard to believe that these people are so anti-free speech, even if it's speech they disagree with. But no less, I'm going to kind of be moving over to this site too as well. So if you ever see me not where I'm at right now, look here. Look here. But definitely, I'd highly recommend watching this particular documentary. It's amazing. It's on Rumble. You can watch it for free there. I don't think it's on any of the other video channels anymore. They took them down. Of course, you know the alphabets would do that. So let me move out of there. Again, highly recommend you watch this. It's free. It's like an hour long. But if you want to be smarter than your neighbor about this whole situation, what's going on over there, and you're wondering why they actually took it offline, or they've taken it offline on most places, well, watch it and find out, and you'll know why. What else is going on out here? ZH, boy, Will the Russian gold sanctions finally reveal that the emperor has no clothes? And more or less, that's kind of a I got a kudos to this article by Sky Wealth Academy. You can read it for free on ZH here. I'm going to just go over a couple points here. First, at the beginning of the article, and again, I would recommend you read it. Recommended reading from, well, I'd say it's recommended reading. I don't like to give homework, but it talks about how sanctions are basically used to hurt the public. You know, they're not a country's people, because sanctions never hurt the people they're intending to hurt. For example, do you think sanctions in Iran hurt the Ayatollah? Do you think sanctions hurt the Venezuelan guy? Do you think sanctions hurt, Saddam? No, not even. It hurts the people mostly. And the whole point, apparently, of doing that is causing the people such discomfort that they want to throw out their own people. But you know what? Again, it goes after the wrong people. Sanctions always hurt the wrong people. And he brings this up very kind of, again, very good article, brings this up that sanctions do hurt the wrong people. Again, a couple things here. The mass media narrative of China trembling in fear. The emperor probably has no clothes. Now, this is what is interesting. And I'm going to read this little section to you. To begin with, the plausibility of the Russian economic sanctions may blow back to the MIB with the revelation that the emperor has no clothes, i.e. the revelation that the two largest, most powerful central banks, the Federal Reserve and the U.S. central banks, do not have nearly the amount of gold reserves as they claim to back global market transactions. Of course, we've known this for a while. Let's start with an exposition of the relationship between the constant fraud executed by the emperor to suppress gold and silver prices and the recent sanctions imposed by the London Bullion Market Association, the LBMA, the other crooks, and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the CME, the biggest crooks, against Russian gold and silver refiners and banks. To begin with, when I started writing this about the former topic circa 2006, I was constantly smeared by mass media and big commercial banks as a conspiracy theorist that didn't understand gold and silver pricing mechanisms. A really rich accusation, given that everything anyone is taught about these processes in traditional business classrooms, including all MBA programs about gold and silver price mechanisms, is completely wrong. Absolutely, folks, and again, great article written here, and I wanted to read this little blip here. In any event, I've since been vindicated by numerous court cases since 2006, and this is something we talk about all the time too, folks. To reference just about 2 out of the dozens times since that time, in 2016, the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commissions, the CFTC, go figure, they actually did something back then, charged J.P. Morgan bankers with falsifying their gold derivative trading data hundreds of times in a period of less than a year. And in 2020, the CFTC once again levied a $1 billion fine on J.P. Morgan for their constant suppression of precious metals by spoofing and other manipulative and deceptive conduct. Folks, this is something we've been talking about for the longest time, that it's not even a matter, do they do it? They do outright spoof these markets. They do outright manipulate these markets, particularly the silver markets, as we know for a fact, based on Ted Butler's stuff and everything we can see, including the COT reports, which are damn obvious. Big commercial banks are allowed to collude with each other and drive the price of silver down. And the COMEX, CME, and the CFTC allows this. Except at some point, I guess, that the CFTC figured they could get a $1 billion fine out of JP and not put him under the jail. Billion, think about that. Anyone who gets fined $1 billion should have probably had death sentence. That's like the equivalent to the death sentence, except they don't give you the death sentence. That's actually, that's what they should do for murderers that can afford to spend $1 billion. Is here, $1 billion, we'll not guilty of murder. You can do a murder for $1 billion, and that's basically what it is. They should have gone to jail, but again, as I said, too big to jail, too big to fail, and not too big to try and bail. Bastards. Anyways, that lasted at 8 years, involved hundreds and thousands of spoof orders. J.P. Morgan was spoofing the gold and silver prices exactly the same way that's being done right now with the big commercial banks out there that are colluding together and driving the price of silver down. I'm sure they do the same thing in gold, but in a different way. Recall that when I was making similar allegations back to 2006, that dozens of people countered my allegations, including some very prominent analysts, and I had the same issue too. Oh, Brian, you're a conspiracist. Oh, here's what's happening. And by claiming allegations had no credibility and were fueled by idiotic beliefs that Wall Street bankers would actually deliberately falsify data in their movement in gold markets, and that anyone that made such an accusation had no idea about the process of bank data vetting and verification. So keep this in mind when I make other current allegations against the same rock-solid, trustworthy bankers for which an additional 16-year years of data analytic time that has provided keen insight. If you revisit the articles I published into the silver price smash of February 2021, including the one in 2020, I warned gold and silver price not bottom yet. Here we go. Let me move over here. And he says here, give me 1 second, in which he stated in clear terms back then in 2021, mark my words, it is near guaranteed that the CME will be raising margins in gold, silver, platinum, and palladium futures soon, perhaps really soon. Less than 24 hours after I issued a prediction, the CME raised their initial maintenance margins on silver future contracts, artificially creating a massive plunge in silver prices. And again, who is it? It's the CME, who owns the Chicago Mercantile, who owns the COMEX markets, the crooked COMEX markets, and runs those crooked markets, those crooked casinos. Keep in mind, as this will be important to integrate into later analysis in this article, that it would literally be impossible to predict the CME. Okay. Let me see, what else can I read here? Really, folks, I think this gentleman nailed it pretty much. I highly recommend you read it again. I was going to say homework again, but I highly recommend you read this. It's on ZH. It's called Will Russian Gold Sanctions Finally Reveal the Emperor Has No Clothes? And again, if it doesn't show up on their top front page, and I think right now, nope, I don't see it here anywhere. So what I would do is just do a search under this title, Will Russian Gold Sanctions Finally? Stop this and just do a search under that title. And again, read this. Very well done, and got to give him credit on that. Well, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? We go on Friday's video. Where has all the silver and gold gone? And let me tell you, folks, there's one thing that I can assure you out there. There is definitely a silver shortage right now. I just found out that 100-ounce bars may be drying up. I'm not even sure what I hold in stock. Mostly, all I have left is the higher premium, higher price stuff I didn't want to sell you a while back ago. But geez, man, I cannot replace right now 1s, 10s, kilos, and the only thing I can place at the moment is 100-ounce bars. So for any of the folks out there that said there was no silver shortage right now, they're full of shit. They're blowing air out their ass or something like that because they don't know what they're talking about, obviously. And there is definitely a shortage of product right now out there. And how do you get these prices that we currently have with a shortage? I have no clue other than, like I said, it is being heavily manipulated, especially right now, folks. But, you know, I think they're working on fear at the moment. The big commercial shorts, and BOFA probably on their big silver and gold derivative lease that they got from JP has probably got to be major panicking right now. Think about that. I guess there's a way to offset these losses, but they're in trouble, and I think that's what we've seen in the 24-hour charts recently too, is that choppy action where it slingshots back upwards. So let's see what happens. And I'd like to thank everybody here for watching. Let me kind of go into who's watching, and let's see, answer some questions here. It looks like and actually let me go to newest first. 1 second. Or newest first, yeah, we'll put that right there, and then I'll go to the bottom of the page and start with the oldest, of course. All right, close your eyes if you get motion sickness, because this actually, there you go. Oh man, here we go. Lots of comments last week, and can't answer all these, but I'll kind of scan through them and see what I can answer. Give me 1 second here. And as I said, oh my gosh, I think we could spend an hour or two here answering comments. Hang on. Let's take a look here. Oh man. All right, I don't think we're going to do a comment section today. I guess we blew it out on comments on Fridays and views. All right. I'd like to thank all you folks here. Of course, you know I like to scroll by your name. And oh God, that looks like another scammer. Let's take a look here. Here's what we do with scammers. Hang on. View 16 replies. It's probably a crypto scammer. And let's see, I invested with this guy. Oh, Mr. Strategies. All right, so here's what we typically try to do when we see these folks. Ready? Report. And hang on a second. Let's not even just report them. I try reporting them. I don't know if it removes it. Give me 1 second here. Oh, I think it did. There we go. If not, I screwed up. Oh, there. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll show you what we do. There we go. I'm going to report that user right there. Oh, screw it. Just remove it for now. Comments removed. All right. And let's see. George Soros, European Union must remove and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say blah, blah, blah. Heart of Texas, Putin and EZ from power and they destroyed. This guy is one that needs to be destroyed. Yeah, I heard that. Thanks for commenting, Heart of Texas. Appreciate that. Barry, even though I just said blah, blah, blah. That's what I do when I read anyway. When I read words that I'm already ahead of myself, blah, 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 blah. Barry, you followed JM Bullion's price for 2 years. Thank you, sir. JM has always been higher than Kitco. Yeah, as I pointed out in yesterday's or the Thursday's video, actually, and I'm commenting on Friday's videos right now, is that yeah, they were all out of whack. JM Bullion was $10 higher than the spot prices I was looking at everywhere else. $10 higher than the ask price. It wasn't just the ask price. Let's see. And Yodi, thanks for watching. Heart of Texas. Barry, you're right. Local coin shops cannot keep products stocked. Can't travel to other shops, so I use JM. Okay. Gasoline is a premium now. I guess I can't argue with that. If it costs you more to drive your coin deal than it does to have someone ship out of state, maybe you might need to do that. It is about the dollars. It is. Let me think here. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for watching. You're right, Wildcat. If CFTC did their job, down from 5 commissioners to 1. Why? I guess it's easier to buy 5 or buy 1 than 5. Yep, that's, oh boy, I know. Will we ever get justice from them CFTC people? Probably not. And SD, seeing a lot of silver. No, not really. The silver that you're seeing, a couple people made a comment, and let me scroll down here. And again, I'd like to thank all of you for watching, but a couple people had made comments that there was no shortage of silver whatsoever, and I think that was on Friday's video that they made those comments. And, oh yeah, there's plenty of silver out there. Well, there really wasn't. If you took a look and you go out and look, even on the common products, the premiums are like $5 or $6. And why would premiums go up dramatically? It's not just because of greedy. It's not because of greedy evil dealers. It's because it's getting harder and harder, and it costs dealers more to buy that product. If you got no sellers out there at $25 an ounce and no sellers at 26, you raise your premiums to 27 and 28, hopefully to entice some sellers that are going to come out of the woodwork. But I tell you what, with generic products selling anywhere from $4 to $6 over spot right now, there are dealers out there paying a couple bucks, $2, $3 over to get generic stuff or try to get generic stuff, and it's still not loosening anything up. So tough market out there, tough to buy stuff. Again, we're getting very low on supplies here, and I'll let you know I'm pretty good at sourcing this stuff. But right now, even us, you know, it's unusual for us to go get low on silver, and we are. And let me kind of move along here, and I always like to just scroll through here and just to show, you know, Linda, 2Tex, Connor, all the people I didn't mention here, all the new viewers. I just like to acknowledge you and say thank you for watching. Most of my audience is outside of Florida. Oh, Joey, I do this. The reason I do these videos is for mostly, and again, I'm not saying I don't enjoy having customers outside of Florida, not customers, but viewers outside of Florida, but really the reason I started doing these videos, the primary reason and the reason I'm doing them is to try to help create local business. But I am finding out that most of my audience is outside of Florida. I don't know if it's not helping me at all. I don't mean it that way. I'd like to have you out, but really, I need more audience people in Florida to come and spend money in my store. Of course, because you know I don't do mail order and I don't ship anything. So a lot of you folks that watch me from afar, I wish I could do business with you, but that's not the case. Thanks for watching, Joey. I appreciate this. And, ooh, interesting. Back on the gold and silver standard. Man, if that happened, you would be like the fortune teller of the year, Aaron. Thanks for watching and thanks for commenting. And it'd be interesting to see us back on a gold and silver standard. I couldn't complain with that. Let's see what else we got going on here. Hey, Welchco Services, good to see you posting. Sorry I didn't get a chance to check out your link there. Ned Porkus, there you again. Hope you're well as well. And I was wondering if you might discuss or perhaps do a show on how premiums on individual products cut both ways. They impact the product price when it is bought, but they also impact the product price when you go to sell. Much like with a car, you may be able to buy a Hyundai for less of a markup than a Subaru, but later when it's time to sell. Okay, I kind of here's my my advice to all gold and silver stackers out there, and I've repeated this so many times in the past, and I should say it more often, is that The best thing you can do when you're buying gold and silver is to buy the least expensive premium product that you can, that's recognizable in the industry, not recognizable by a friend or recognizable by some people online, but by recognizable, industry recognizable products for the least expensive premium you can. And that applies to gold and silver. Always do that. Always do that. And always assume when you go to sell your gold and silver, you're not going to get any premium. Just assume that. Just assume. In fact, to all my friends and listeners and local customers out there who know and come and see me, just assume that when you go to sell your gold and silver bars and coins, some people are not going to want to hear this, that you're going to get negative spot, all right? I remember in 1980s when I was working for my father, and we were in the peak of the $50 silver market. The refiners stopped buying silver at 35 bucks an ounce or 30 bucks an ounce. They were just overloaded, or you had to wait a long time. Other dealers were paying spot minus $5 for 100-ounce silver bars. I remember that specifically right at the end, because all of a sudden at 50 bucks an ounce, tons of people were selling, and then all of a sudden there weren't many buyers out there, so lots of product coming in, a lot of not going out, and everything got discounted. So all you folks out there, just remember, buy the cheapest product you can and assume when you go to sell it, you're going to get under spot for it. That's the safest way to do it. And if you get anything, if you get spot or better for your silver when you go to resell it, consider that icing on the cake. Just my opinion. And I've been doing this a long time. Thanks, Johnny Boy Silver. I appreciate it. And great compatriot Ted Butler is the best. And if you want to know how markets are manipulated, there's no better person to listen, silver markets that is, no better person to listen to than Ted Butler. He is the expert. He is the old school gangster of explaining how silver manipulation happens. If you want to know how gold manipulation happens, make sure you look at gata.org, which incidentally, I forgot to put their page up today. And let's see what else is going on here. Again, want to acknowledge everyone. There's silver for sale at Mex. This is what I was talking about, MaxStack. AtMex says generic at $6. There's silver for sale for everywhere, but don't confuse that there's not a shortage. The reason that AtMex has generic for spot plus $6 is because they're having a really hard time replacing it right now. And silver, you just have to pay the price. It's not about what you pay for, it's all about the else, and the dealers pay you for silver. I have to absorb that a little bit more, but you know, the reason $6 over for generics is because these guys are having a hard time finding product. Why? Because available silver is really slim right now. And thank you, Herbert, appreciate that. Thank you, Brexit. And what else we got going on here? I thought the spot price fixed, however, each distributor tax on a sum. Yeah, there is bid and ask prices in these different online companies. I have noticed always pump their price up a little bit on the sell side. It's not the only place Russia has gold and silver. Wow, man, tons of comments. And again, like to thank everyone here for commenting. And let's see, is there anything here I can answer quickly and right away? Nope, not too much. Well, I think that's really going to be about it. We've gone over a bunch of things here. What else is going on the GH world? Just kind of curious if we have a ceasefire yet. And haven't seen a ceasefire yet. Just the same old idiots doing the same old shit. Okay, that's interesting. Reach a standstill deal on massive margin calls. We'll get into that tomorrow. Hey, listen, I'm going to call it quits right now, and we'll get back to you tomorrow, folks. I'd like to thank everybody for listening, watching, and hit that like and subscribe button as well if you haven't. I appreciate that as well. Hey, that's it. This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. Call me anytime at 954-493-8811 between 10 and 4 Mondays through Fridays if you live in South Florida. And remember, we are only a South Florida brick and mortar dealer. We don't do online stuff. However, if you do live in our area and you live in South Florida, we do advertise to beat APMEX, JM, SD Bullion on their popular, not their popular, but the good recognizable products that you should be buying, not the overpriced shit that they put on those sites. Again, nothing wrong with those companies. I'm just ultra competitive, and your local dealer should be as well. So if you don't live in South Florida and you can't deal with me before you order online, whether it's tires, jewelry, or coins, I recommend you find yourself a good local dealer and spend that money locally. Well, that's about it, folks. And as far as what's going on out there, you know, you could call CME, this number right there, and complain to the market regulation lady, Sheila, who happens to be really nice. nice. And tell her that how much you think of their nonsense, but you know what? Forget about it. Have yourself a nice cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and it's the evening or something, whatever you like, and just enjoy the rest of the evening. That's it. Hey, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.